Hey folks, welcome to the channel. Today I thought I would talk about some tools that I use, not the big tools, but the small tools. These just help get the everyday knife making job done. They're not essential, but man, they make things easier. So first thing I want to start with is this guy. So this is just a scribing pen. It's got a carbide tip on it. It's got a magnetic end on this end. If you don't have one of these, this is one of the first things you need to get. I use this for marking metal. I use the magnetic end to test metal for what temperature it is. If it's non-magnetic at 1450, that kind of thing. So invaluable. I even use the magnetic end to pull chips out of my mill when I'm trying to clean out the T-slots. So great tool. Next, you know, a lot of machinists use these. If you don't know what these are, you really should become familiar with them. They call these 1, 2, 3 blocks because they're 1 inch by 2 inch by 3 inch. And they're machined exactly like that. They've got holes in them. Some of the holes, if you can see, some of the holes are tapped, so you can put bolts into them. Just so many uses of these things for leveling things. You can use them to square things. I use them to square up the table on my 2x72 with the platen. So lots of useful things for these. You can buy these for like 15 bucks or something, and you can use 2 of them to support things on for drilling. So many uses of these. So get yourself a pair. Centerline scribes. Redbeard Ops actually did a good video on building one of these, but you know, for me, sometimes making tools is just time consuming. And when you can buy this, I think I paid 15 bucks for this online. It's got a carbide scribe, and you can just move it up and down. It's real low tech. And you put it on something up against your blade after you mark it and just mark a line on it. So it's super simple, and it's machined flat. Next thing actually is this. You know, I haven't spent the money to go get like a 2-inch thick piece of granite, but what I did do is go to Home Depot and just get myself a ceramic tile. I use this for so many things, for marking, for flatness. But also one of the main things, if you watch any of my videos, I use this just to draw on. You can see there's all kinds of drawings on it and numbers, and I love it just as a drawing template because I can just erase it, and really cool. I think I paid $3.50 for this. So worth the money. Next, many of you are probably familiar with this, but I'll talk about it just in case. This is a filing guide to do the shoulders in a knife. You slide your knife in here, you clamp it down, and then you can use, once it's clamped up here, you can use a file just to make sure you can file the edges of the shoulders and make a recess for your tang so that your guards fit really nice. I actually don't use this very much because I usually use the mill. And this thing is okay for use in the mill if you just want to clamp something to the end. If this is your vise, and pretend this is your vise, and you're clamping, so you're clamping the knife in your vise, and you want to do the shoulders on this side, so you put this on your knife, and then you can flip it over and know that you've got a reference point. The problem is sometimes I want to put this between here, okay, and these things sometimes get in the way. So I actually just built this just out of mild steel. It's all machined, but these things, these bolts recess right in here so that I can clamp this on something and clamp it any way I want into the vise, and know that, you know, I have clearance on every side. So I use this quite a bit just to clamp things in the vise. Lastly, this little guy. So if you do any kind of Damascus where you're cutting stuff up into layers and you need to cut a billet and restack, this thing saves so much time. You put something down and it's like, oh, I want to cut it into 3, and I'll just do that, and then I'll lock it down Okay, and then I'll just go and set this on my bandsaw. Or if you want, you just mark off lines that you're going to use your angle grinder. But it's great. It saves you a lot of time from measuring things out and dividing, and it's got a lock. Great tool. I think I think this was like $12 or something. It was great. Next one I want to talk about is, let me just move the camera. Okay, this is a knife maker's vise. I see a lot of people just clamp a knife in a regular vise, and that's great. But what this one lets you do is it's got so many uses. So this is just two pieces of pipe, different sizes, and the same sleeve down here. It moves back and forth. Okay, I've got this flat part which I can put the blade when I'm hand sanding. This little piece, I just took a piece of wood and I embedded a little piece of mild steel in here so I could screw this down without it going into the wood. This plate here, you can see it's notched so that it fits right there. It doesn't come out. Then I'm actually going to cover this in rubber. I haven't done that yet. But then you can just clamp your blade down on it, your tang. Then you can do all your hand sanding. It's got you can't see it, it's got another knob here so this doesn't move. You do all your hand sanding. Okay, when you want to, like maybe you want to do the top spine. Okay, you hang it over the edge, you turn this one, there you go. Now you can do the top spine. If I'm working on the handle, I'll spin this around. Okay, I'll put the blade in here. I'll leave the handle exposed. Okay, now I can flip it around and do all of the sanding on the handle that I want. Whether the front, the top, the back. It saves so much time. Once you clamp something in here, just by, tightening this down, this thing is like the whole table's moving. Right, and I've got it bolted to the table. So this has saved so much time, and again, it probably took me maybe an hour or two to build, and it saved me more than that. Just from fiddling with trying to get things right and clamping it in the vise and making sure you got, vise protectors so you don't damage the blade, and, so worth the time. All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about, tools. What I wanted to show you is just a couple projects I'm working on. You're going to see some videos of these coming up. The first is, this is the explosion pattern Damascus chef knife that I'm working on. You could kind of see the pattern there. This has been heat treated, and I'm just starting the grinds on it. But it's looking really good, dead straight. Which reminds me of another tool that I just completed for that I wanted to talk about, was this straightening jig, because I used it on this one, and you're going to see that in the video. What I've done here is I milled a slot. Again, you could probably do this with an angle grinder. I've got these two little pieces that slide back and forth, and they're just bolts welded to a little piece of 1/4 inch round. And now I can move these around, put the blade in, and then I have this bolt that I've just tapped on the other end. This was just a square bar or square tube, and I tapped a thing for the bolt, and this will just press the blade wherever I need to apply some pressure. And then I just take a torch, for this one I just heated the tang. The tang was crooked, so I heated the tang, applied pressure here, straightened it out, and then I pour a little water on the tang. When I'm done, of course, wrap the blade, making sure that it's not getting any heat. I should have made one of these a couple years ago. I've straightened so many blades in a vise. It's just a pain in the butt to try to play with these things by hand as you're holding it. This way you can just tighten these down, figure where you want it, and let it go. So great tool as well. I'd recommend something like that. So back to projects. My next project after this one, I'm working on some canister Damascus, and this will be the next project, which is a karambit. Never done one of these. I played with one. I have one, not one I made, but this will be the next one. This is a pretty cool design, I think, and it'll look good with the mosaic Damascus and some like G10 handle scales, a little more tactical than the typical knife I make, but looking forward to this one. It'll look pretty cool. So thanks, folks. Again, please subscribe, hit that like button and that bell for notifications, and come see these builds when the videos get posted up soon. Thanks, folks.